If you only had seconds to save a friend's life, how innovative could you be? Growing up in Michigan, I loved to go exploring in the woods behind our house. And one particular day, I went on a walk with my friend Jeremy looking for some turtles. Now, we were 9 years old and we decided to go exploring the woods. And as we're walking around, we came across a ravine. Now, a ravine is just a large gully. It's got dirt walls that are 75 foot high on each side and a large chasm in between. And I thought it'd be a good idea if I could try using one of the vines to swing across the ravine. Seemed like a good idea. I grabbed one of the vines and I held on to it, pulled it twice. It felt pretty tight. I asked Jeremy if he was sure that he wanted me to go first, and he assured me that he was. So I pulled on the vine a couple times, it felt solid, and I climbed up a couple branches to make sure that I would have enough momentum to get across the ravine, because it was about 50 feet to clear. So I decided to do it. I lifted my feet up, and I just remember feeling the rush of wind in my face as I swung across this ravine. And I'm flying, and I'm feeling like, I felt like Tarzan. I felt invincible until the vine broke, and I fell 50 feet all the way down and landed on my back. Whack. Now, I remember my first thought was, I think I'm paralyzed. And so I slowly moved my arms and slowly moved my legs and realized I wasn't paralyzed. And so I started to stand up and look for Jeremy. And just as I did, the branch that was holding the vine came down and hit me right in the head, knocking me unconscious. Now I'm unconscious. I'm laying in the bottom of the ravine, and I'm starting to bleed out. Jeremy quickly saw what was happening, and he rushed down into the bottom of the ravine. Picking my head up and seeing that it was bleeding really bad, he decided to take off his long-sleeve shirt and wrap it around my head like this. And he wrapped it real tight and tied it like that. Then he grabbed my two legs and put them on his shoulders, and he carried me up, one step after another, up the steep side of the ravine. When he got to the top of the ravine, he yelled for help. Help! 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 Some neighbors heard, and they quickly came rushing over, and they put me on a four-wheeler, they took me to their car, and then they took me to the hospital. I just remember waking up in the hospital, not knowing what had happened. I saw Jeremy there, and my neighbors and family, and I saw the doctor, and the doctor said, Jeremy saved your life. If he hadn't wrapped his shirt around your head, you'd be dead. Often when we think about innovation, we think about technology, but innovation is so much more than technology. It's about solving a problem, solving the biggest problem, like Jeremy. I want to give you 3 ingredients about innovation that I've learned that will be helpful for you, that'll make you more innovative, a better thinker, and a better friend, like Jeremy. The first ingredient is really that innovation comes from crisis. And so when Jeremy saw what had happened, he had to act very quickly and get down into the bottom of the ravine and solve the biggest problem first, which was my head wound. He had never done that before. How did he know what to do? How did he know what steps to take? And oftentimes when there's a crisis, we need to have innovation like Jeremy had. I love stories from business. One of my favorite stories is from Forrest Mars. And if you don't know the story about Forrest Mars, he was the heir of the Mars Chocolate Company. And his dad and him did not get along. And so he actually got kicked out of the Mars Company. Now he's unemployed, and he's a chocolatier, and he's looking for a job. So he decides to go to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and go on the public tour of Hershey chocolate. And as he's going on this public tour, they don't, of course, know who he is, as Forrest Mars, the Mars heir. And he learns a little bit how they make chocolate. But what he really wants to do is to pitch them an idea. Now, again, this is a big crisis for him because he's unemployed. But he goes to Bruce Murray, who's working for the Hershey family, and he brings out a handkerchief. And he opens up the handkerchief and reveals some candied chocolates. Now, chocolate at the time would have melted. Coming from Chicago all the way down to Hershey, Pennsylvania, there's no chance that it would have not melted in your pocket. And so this idea was he was going to present it to be a partner with him, Mars and Murray. And they would later go on to create M&Ms, one of the most successful candy brands of all time. And actually, because he picked Bruce Murray, Murray had the contract with the Army, and so he was able to actually have a very successful chocolate company, would later go on to take over Mars. So crisis can create innovation. But you need another ingredient, and that is that you need to find yourself on this uncertainty curve. And so if you imagine a chart like this, the research shows if you've got uncertainty on the x-axis, and then on this axis, the y-axis, you have concern for others. It follows a bell curve like this, where innovation being most likely to occur right at the top of the curve. Now, if you don't have any uncertainty, you're going to be apathetic. You're going to be too comfortable. You're not going to be able to be innovative. On the other side, if you have so much uncertainty and fear, you're going to be paralyzed. You're not going to be able to know what to do. And so there's this sweet spot right in the middle, concern for others with the right mix of uncertainty. Actually, right now, they measure uncertainty with the World Uncertainty Index, and it is one of the highest points ever in history. The only other time that it's been this high was actually in 2008. Now, 2008, my wife came to me, and she said, honey, build me an app. I would like an app to be able to listen to this specific radio station on my iPhone. Now, of course, I didn't know how to build apps, and so I did what any husband would do. I just added it to my honey-do list. So it was mow the lawn, clean out the garage, and build an app for your wife. And I decided to go to Barnes & Noble and buy the Dummies book for iPhone programming, because I was a dummy. Now, I brought the book home, I opened it up, and I started reading it. About 6 months later, I was able to program an iPhone app where you could play, pause, and rewind live radio, and decided to donate it to the nonprofit radio station. Now, my friend was an Android developer. Of course, he built the Android version in like a day because he was a professional programmer. And we decided to donate the apps to a local nonprofit radio station with one condition. You can't put our names on this. We don't want any credit for this. We don't want any bug reports. And they said, sure, that sounds great. And we donated it to the nonprofit station and saw it in the App Store about a week later. Only we had our names and personal cell phones in the App Store. So we were so worried that we were going to get all these calls with bug reports. But what we got, they had about 100,000 weekly listeners. And we got calls from people that needed apps for their companies. And that's how we started our software company. And so uncertainty with concern for others created an innovation. All right, you need one more ingredient. And the third ingredient that you need is the courage to act. Now, if you think back to the story, if he had just thrown me a rope, it would have hit my lifeless hands and it wouldn't have done anything good, even if it was the perfect rope with the perfect throw at the right time. Oftentimes, I know as a leader, I like to throw ropes into situations. I like to send emails or texts, but I don't actually like to go down into the ravine and help out a friend. And that's really what true innovation takes. But it doesn't just take one time to innovate. It takes multiple iterations and experiments. So if you think of the story of James Dyson, Dyson was able to create the cyclone vacuum out of over 5,100 prototypes. I tried counting to 5,000 just on the plane ride over here. People thought I was crazy, but it took the entire flight here. It's a big number. It's a lot of innovation. It's a lot of failure. And that's often what innovation takes, is a lot of failure. Now that you understand the three ingredients, I want you to do a fun exercise with me. And so if you can put your hands like this, we're going to all do this together. Then I want you to go like this. Then I want you to go like this. All right, if you did it right, you should be able to kind of swing your elbows like this. Good. Now turn to your neighbor next to you and say, you're doing a great job. All right, good. All right, you're going to look up here. We're going to move your pinkies. Then we're going to move your thumbs. And then the count of three, we're going to all do this together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, what happened? Either I'm just really flexible or something else was going on. I'm going to tell you how I did this because I believe that it will teach you about innovation. While you were looking away, I took my bottom hand and I moved it to the top. That way, both my thumbs we're able to flip around. You can use this at dinner parties. You're going to be the life of the party with your friends, talking about innovation. But it brings up a critical point, which is that innovation can't occur when we're distracted. So as you were turning to your neighbor, the trick happened. And that's happening right now for us. The average American watches 40 hours of short-form video content on their phones every week. 40 hours. That's like a full-time job just of watching Reels and TikToks and YouTubes. We are distracting ourselves, and we cannot innovate when we're being so distracted. So I want to offer you a homework assignment, and then I want to share with you an equation that I've learned, which will help you to be more innovative. And the homework assignment is this. I want you to spend one day without your smartphone. And I want you to take that day, and I want you to take a blank piece of paper, write down your biggest problem at the top, and then just start to list as many ideas that you can think of to those problems that you're facing. If you can, spend time in nature. Of course, don't go swing on any vines. But just write down every idea, and don't use, judgment. Just don't nix any of the ideas. Just continue to write them down until you've filled the pages of the paper. Then what I want you to do is to share that paper with someone that is a friend, a trusted friend, that can help you go through those ideas and just pick one to experiment with first. This is how innovation happens. It happens in community. It happens when other people can evaluate your ideas and to help you pick the best one. You see, oftentimes we like to innovate in silos, but we need others to help us prioritize that. And so pick a trusted friend that can help you do that. All right. Now I want to share this. Well, the reason why we need to have a friend is because oftentimes as we're innovating, it might feel like this. It looks like chaos to us from our view. But a friend is able to put it in order and help us make sense of it just because of their perspective, because of their view of how they're viewing it. All right, so now here's the equation. As you're thinking about this, the number of ideas over time is going to equal your innovation flow. Now, this has actually been well researched out of some researchers at Stanford, and they figured out that if you can continue to practice and continue to have more ideas as you're generated, over time, you're going to be able to be a better innovator. Because if you think back to the Apollo 13 mission, where they were able to solve a problem in a short period of time, they didn't have the right materials. In fact, they threw away the instruction manual. There was nothing in the instruction manual that told them what to do. Just like when you were like this, you didn't know what was going to happen. And they were able to take tubes and filters and even duct tape to create an innovation that ended up saving their lives. So I believe that with these three ingredients and with these two practices, you're going to be more innovative. Thank you very much.